Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel, T-Tar Collects. Here we talk about Pokemon, chasing a dream, and documenting every step of the journey. If following what it's like to kind of build a TCG business, Pokemon business from nothing sounds interesting to you, then consider subscribing and follow me on my journey. Today, I wanted to talk a little bit about how I kind of condition cards as I get collections and things like that. How do I condition those to then list them on my eBay? If you've watched some of my previous videos, you know that I'm all about transparency. I try to take good photos, make sure that, the buyer knows kind of exactly what they're getting. Even if I'm listing something as near mint, might have little tiny, white dots or maybe a very light amount of like whitening on the side. Anybody who's opened cards recently, opened packs of cards, that even like pack fresh, straight out of the pack, cards can still have small imperfections. A lot of times those would still be considered near mint, but especially if it's like a higher end card, $50, $100, $200, like whatever, right? If it's a higher value card, and I list it as near mint, I still want to kind of disclose those types of small imperfections. Eventually, hopefully this year, I'm going to be getting a scanner to take like even better pictures, and that'll save like a ton of time. I'll definitely make a video about that because definitely taking pictures can kind of be one of the more time consuming aspects of listing cards. So having a scanner that can just boom, take that in like less than a second, basically front and back, will be great. So hopefully, keep tuned for that for later this year. But yeah, we're gonna hop into conditioning basically in this video. How do I do it? What I recommend? You can see on my eBay here, basically a 5-star review for, condition, like description of matching what was sold. So I think, I've done a pretty nice job with that over the last year. But real quick before we get into it, how's everybody's Pokemon Day 2026, right? For me, I'm cautiously optimistic for Gen 10. I don't want to do any major spoilers or anything. I'm sure it's all over the internet, obviously, at this point. Happened on Friday, and now it's Sunday, so over the weekend, I'm sure, if you're in this space, you probably saw everything. But yeah, Team Gekwa, rise up, right? Definitely going to be what I'm going with. I'll probably live stream on YouTube when Gen 10 does come out. Unfortunately, not till 2027. I'll definitely look to live stream my playthrough of that. I think that'll be fun. Who knows where the channel will be at that point, but that should be pretty fun and exciting. But yeah, definitely excited about the starters. Everybody seems to love Pombon, of course, so go check that out. There wasn't too much for the TCG. It was kind of a little of a strange, like it wasn't clear to me even that was like a reveal for the TCG, but it looks like it is confirmed. I think in October, we're going to be getting a kind of like a celebrations style set. So that'll be exciting to look forward to as well. But yeah, let me know how your Pokemon Day was. Are you excited for anything that you saw in particular? I'm looking forward to Gen 10, of course. I had fun with Scarlet and Violet. I know it's a little bit of a hot take, a little bit of controversy there with the technical issues and things like that. And of course, there could have been some improvements. But overall, I did have fun with Scarlet and Violet Gen 9. So looking forward to Gen 10. And the game looked pretty great. We'll see if what they showed translates into what we get. But yeah, without any more discussion on that, let's hop over to the desk and I'll show you how I condition cards. Alrighty, welcome back to the desk here. So this actually works out. Timing's pretty good here. Today, I actually picked up another small collection from somebody locally. So I figured it was a good opportunity to kind of go through and show you how I condition cards for my eBay store. So basically here, now this isn't from the collection that I just got, but I wanted to grab a card that's basically like undisputably near mint. So this I actually opened in a separate video, I think earlier this week. So this was literally straight from pack to sleeve. You can see there is just no corner issues. There's no edge whitening. This was a pretty good example of a card, pulled straight from a pack, which would pretty much, like, there's no arguing, right, that this is a near mint card. And again, I've never really had any issues so far with people kind of having any discrepancy with the conditioning of my cards. I think because I try to be as transparent as possible. I try to take as good pictures as I can of like perceived flaws that I see on the cards, and make sure that those pictures are on my eBay listings, just to kind of keep everything transparent. And I think that's important for building integrity and confidence in your store, right? You just want to be as transparent as possible. Now, this Flareon EX I did pick up as part of this collection today. This is, I would say I'm going to probably list it as near mint, but I'll show you a couple, maybe flaws that I found that I will disclose. I do feel that it would still be considered a near mint card. There's a very light scratch kind of here, like a little bit of light scuffing, right? So, again, other than that, no real major surface issues on the front. If we flip it over to the back, you can kind of see there is, up on this top corner, a couple white dots, or, I wouldn't really call that edge whitening. That's more just like white dots that you get on the corners typically. I don't know. Again, like on the bottom corner, kind of same situation, just a couple faint white dots. Over on this corner, there is maybe what you could consider a little bit of edge whitening on that bottom left corner. And then a couple, very minor white dots on there. Other than that, no real surface issues on the back. Maybe a very light scratch there. I don't even know if the camera will pick that up. But that's you just want some good lighting, right? As you're looking to condition cards, I kind of like move them back and forth in the light, because then you'll be able to see if there's any like dents, dings, scratches, things like that. On the front, that's a little more challenging, because usually the fronts of especially cards that have value will kind of have obviously like a foil pattern. But usually in those foil patterns, you'll be able to see light scuffs and scratches as well. So yeah, this is an example of a card that's, I think it would be considered near mint. This is where it gets interesting. Like when you think PSA 7 is near mint by PSA standards. Their PSA 7 cards are literally listed as near mint. This, I think, would be better than a 7. If I were to send it in, it's probably an 8 if I had to take a guess. So like near mint plus, wouldn't be considered mint or gem mint, of course, because of those couple issues. Yeah, I think with that card is an example of a card I'll list as near mint on my eBay store, and then be transparent about those issues that I've personally noted. Kind of moving down the line here, this Flareon EX Radiant Collection, another card that I picked up today in this collection. So we'll pop this out of the sleeve real quick. And I think this is, so this is an example of a card that I would consider light play, LP. So, and the reason for that is every corner does have some whitening that hopefully you can see here, and it's kind of rounded around the whole corner. You can see there, you can certainly pick that up on the camera. There's also an additional kind of white ding or dot on that little bottom edge. This corner as well has some whitening, and then the top left corner as well. So every corner has a little bit of whitening, and this is more the reason why, like, to me, this would go from near mint to light play. These aren't white dots, right? This is like actual like edge whitening on the corners. The white dots, I'm guessing, are caused by some type of thing on the manufacturing line when they're cutting these cards from the sheets. I'm guessing if it doesn't get machined exactly correctly or something like that, it causes those white dots, because they're pretty frequent on cards, on Pokemon cards. I think Magic doesn't really have that issue, so I'm not sure what the difference is there with the production line. And then I do think there are some very faint light scratches, like in this hollow pattern on the hearts. I don't know that the camera will really pick that up. But these I was actually kind of scrutinizing a little bit to determine if I was going to send any of these in for grading, which I don't think I'm going to do, just based on the condition and the comp sales for those. Yeah, just kind of moving through here. This Sylveon EX Radiant Collection, I don't know if this is considered an alt art or something like that. This would definitely be another example of a light play. Just kind of looking through. Again, we see the same kind of, whitening on the corners, white dot on the edge, or ding, a little bit of whitening on the edge over here, whitening on the bottom down here. So this one is probably, it's certainly light play to me, moving towards moderate play, but again, and it has some kind of like dings there on the front of the one edge as well. This is the type of card where, again, I'll likely be listing this as light play on my eBay store, and then again be very transparent with these various kind of condition issues. Ultimately, again, it's interesting, like when you're talking about TCG Player, for example, I personally have bought cards on TCG Player at near mint and gotten them with whitening and dings and all kinds of stuff. So I think that is one of the advantages you have in using eBay, is the different pictures you can add to all your listings, and just kind of the direct conversation and connection you can have with the seller. Like, you can just ask them questions, you can ask them for additional pictures, things like that. So like if you're shopping for near mint on TCG Player, you kind of don't know what you're always going to get. Now this is probably an example where we're moving more towards moderate play. And there's an issue on the back which kind of separates that for me, and I'll show you. So here you can definitely see there's 3 kind of distinct scratches moving down the card there, and then also just some kind of general scuffing and a little bit of scratches on the hollow pattern. I think this one, I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but this scratch kind of goes down most of the card. And then on the back, same kind of, edge whitening and corner kind of whitening. So then you might ask, why would I list this as maybe moderately played? There you can see, looks like the camera is picking that up. There's like a kind of a surface, very small surface dent. To me, if there's like an actual dent in the card, that's when you're kind of crossing over towards moderate play, in my opinion. So yeah, this will likely be listed as moderate play. Now, I might list it a little bit high for moderate play, because other than that, it would almost certainly be considered a light play card. And then I'll kind of leave that up to the buyer. If they decide they want to buy it, it'd be a great binder copy because that issue is on the back of the card. And, other than the kind of little light scuffs and scratches in the foil pattern, not a huge deal if you're just looking at the face of the card. So that's kind of crossing as we're moving down here in the gradient from like near mint down the line. That's where it's kind of crossing into moderate play for me as far as how I'm conditioning cards. This Vaporeon EX here is an example of where, for me, like edge whitening kind of makes it moderate play. So you can see this, the front of the card is in pretty good condition, but when we flip it over here, we have pretty severe edge whitening here. Let's see if I can get that to focus. But yeah, you can definitely see how that edge is pretty heavily whitened. So to me, that's moderate play. That's definitely more than light play, in my opinion. So this will almost certainly, I'll list this as moderate play on my eBay store, and then have, a couple nice pictures on that edge there, just so that people can see what they're getting. And then whenever I have something that's not like purely near mint, I will always put in my description
please see photos for condition of card. So that way, they can look at it, they know what they're getting. If a card is like this Garchomp EX that we talked about earlier, that's just near mint, I just use the eBay AI description, because that just saves me time as far as having to type out, please see description. And you might think like typing that out isn't a big deal, but when you're listing like 100 cards or hundreds of cards or whatever, saving those couple extra seconds to just click the AI button and have it generate a description moves much faster. Now this Dragonite is not part of this collection that I bought today, but I did want an example of something that I have. I actually have this currently listed on my eBay store, and this is heavily played for me. So moving down from moderate play to heavy play. What makes it heavy play? I don't know if you can, so you can kind of see in the glare there, especially like here, there's like, I don't even know what it is. Over time, as cards age and they're not in sleeves, they kind of get this like cloudiness to the surface. I don't know if that's just from handling and like skin oils kind of getting on there and sitting there over the years. I'm not really sure what that kind of general like cloudiness comes from. You can see it there on the back as well. If it's just literal like dust, dirt kind of built up on the card over time. So that's, we're getting into heavy play. There are some scratches on the card kind of over here on the surface. The front is starting to have edge whitening, and the bottom down here is pretty worn. And then on the back, we'll definitely see. So you can kind of see right away, like this to me is beyond edge whitening, obviously. This is like the actual physical card is like worn away from age. Very, very heavy, thick whitening on the edge here, on the corners, all four corners basically. There is scuffs and scratches on the back surface of the card that you can kind of make out. There actually looks to be what's probably a little bit of moisture, almost like a kind of wrinkled surface corner up there. So yeah, this is definitely heavy play. Just with that, the severe whitening, the scuffs, the scratches, the worn top here, that's what would determine heavy play for cards that I'm listing. And I actually don't have an example of damaged. I typically prefer to just deal with near mint cards just because it's easier, especially like less pictures that I have to take effectively to be able to describe things. And that won't be as much of an issue. And like I said, I hope to get a scanner this year when I look to invest a little bit more money into the business. Look to pick up a scanner just to kind of make the picture taking process a little bit quicker. And that'll just, once and done, instead of having to take, 15 or 20 different pictures of all the little damages and dings and things like that on these cards. As of right now, I generally prefer to deal with just near mint cards because it's easier to list. But that being said, obviously at this point, I'm kind of just buying whatever's available as I look to kind of grow the store. And then a lot of these other, these are kind of the more valuable cards that I pulled out of the collection here. Different evolutions and things. These are mostly just light play. Got a couple cool deck exclusive Gengar and Ninetales. I think this person had they had mentioned that they bought probably a pre-con deck and maybe just some extra cards during the pandemic in 2020 just to play with the friend in their local group or whatever. And after that, they just haven't really touched these, so they just wanted to get rid of them. And obviously I was happy to pick them up. But yeah, you can see a lot of just kind of like edge whitening on these. These are all just like bulk commons and things like that. So I assume they're just a little bit of play on there just from playing with the actual cards and shuffling them up and things like that. So that'll pretty much wrap it up. I am always looking to buy collections. So if you have anything that you're looking to sell, just reach out to me down in the comments. You can message me on Discord. I put that down there. Instagram, things like that. Reach out and let me know. Happy to buy cards and look to kind of keep growing. So that is how I condition my cards for eBay. Again, just be transparent, take good pictures, so people know what they're getting, and you kind of build good feedback as you go. So if this was helpful, please subscribe, continue to follow me on my journey. And if any of these are interesting to you, then they will be available on my eBay store very shortly. So thanks for checking it out, and I will see you on the next video.